Imran, welcome to India today.
Thank you.
First of all, huge congratulations.
Thank you so much.
I absolutely loved your performance in the film. It was so understated. It was such a big surprise. I enjoyed each and every part of it. It was like a ride. I want to take you back to the day when this film came to you, just sort of to run you through those emotions. What an unexpected thing for all of us to sort of see you in this.
Yes.
Did you also feel that way when it came?
Yeah, I mean, it was a very, the journey began with just a routine kind of SMS from the casting head, Shanu Sharma.
Yeah.
She sent me a message saying that, would you want to have a cup of coffee with Maneesh? And I was like, yeah, why not? And I came to YRF and I thought Maneesh is going to make kind of film like Band Baja or something like that. And then the first thing he told me that, Imran, we are casting for the antagonist for Tiger. I was like, that's interesting. But I had a preconceived notion about what the antagonist would be. And I was like, I got to hear this out and see how it plays out.
What was that notion like? Just to, was it
mentally,
like that?
I'd probably said no. Already, mentally.
Okay.
I imagined the antagonist to be a certain kind, and that was my shortcoming of where I imagined it. But then he narrated it to me, and I was completely blown away by the story and by the journey of Atish. Because for me, my reservation of why I might have thought I wouldn't do it is sometimes antagonists and villains is a very blurred line.
Right.
And sometimes the villain becomes extremely unidimensional. I mean, of course, in the narrative, you have to hate the antagonist or the villain.
Correct.
Otherwise, the hero doesn't, eventually become powerful and successful in the end. But I always would do something like that if it was the antagonist, if there's a certain point of view, if there's a justification for what he does.
Right.
Not just one mad psycho who's doing it for no rhyme or reason. There has to be some appeal there for me to do it, some arc. And when in the story progression, when he was narrating it, and I don't want to give anything away, the backstory really worked for me of where Atish is coming from, why he becomes the Atish in the present day. So I found that appealing, and I was like, that's why I was like, okay, I'm definitely on for this.
What was the process like of becoming Atish? Because apart from that beard and those grey streaks and then those long shots, you've got under the skin of him. Like when he's angry or when he's vulnerable also at some point, you feel that. What was that like getting in that space?
Oh, it was quite a long and hard journey because Maneesh is a very hard taskmaster. To begin with, we had almost 10 multiple look tests, clothes, hair. Also, you see him at 3 different phases of his life. So, to knock everyone off, we had to do these multiple look tests. It was extremely exhausting in its own way. And then when we eventually came down to finding Atish visually, it was about finding the pitch of the character. So, it was like almost giving multiple auditions because Maneesh and me wanted to be very clear of what Atish would be before we got on the set. We didn't want to fiddle around with or play around with stuff and waste time.
Right.
We wanted to be clear about what Atish would be like. So he used to send me scenes, and this is 2 months before the film started, 1 month before. And I used to self-tape myself on the iPhone. So for each scene, I used to self-tape myself around 10 times, 7 to 10 times.
Wow.
And different multiple pitches of the same scene. Then I also want to know what is Maneesh looking at as.
Right.
I knew his sensibilities. He's not a very up-key, over-the-top. Sometimes commercial films get that way.
Correct.
It's loud for the sake of being loud.
Yes.
It's trying to be dangerous and mean for the sake of it in your face. But Atish is not that. So I want to be clear about what Maneesh's vision was. So I sent him that also. Manish said, no, this is not what I want. He's a guy who doesn't play it like the antagonist. Because he's the hero of his own narrative. He's coming from the right place. He's very polished. एक अदब से पेश आता है. He's very learned, very intelligent. He's poised, and I found that interesting. And we found that poise and charisma through the, multiple takes and the self tapes that I sent him.
Wow. Also, tell me, when you look at a franchise like this, right? There is so much of, I would just say, so much of love and so much of attachment from fans to it, right? Salman has his own fandom. Katrina has her own fandom. The franchise has had an organic growth with every new director taking on the film. When you get into that, how does one sort of retain and ground himself to not sort of get caught up in that bubble of the hype, the pressures, then your fandom, what they would perhaps look up to you from? Because also you have been very organic in the choices that you have made, whatever said and done, whatever the outcome might be.
I don't get caught up in that. It's, for me, the journey for Tiger has not been different from the journey of my first film. I've realized that if I get complacent, I can ruin it for myself, and I've never been that way. I always put enough pressure on myself, not because it's just part of Tiger, but because as an actor, I want to succeed at what I'm doing. I want to give this character arc its fullest and play it out in a very appealing way so the audience finds, and gets the money's worth. So it's just putting in that work for every character. It's not very different from Tiger or for any different film. So the pressure is the same for each and every film.
Right.
It's not more or less, if it's a big brand like Tiger. It's never like that.
I think that has been a constant, you're right, because with every film that you've done or every character, your outlook towards it has almost been perhaps like the one you've had with Tiger. I want to speak to you a bit about the co-stars in this particular film. And as an actor, what do you draw from them and what do you perhaps give them? Because in scenes, that's almost like a chemistry, right? Like an organic give and take. And when you have somebody like Salman and then there is that larger life canvas he fills a frame with, what were the things you sort of took away from it when you went back home, just spending time with him on set?
I've known Salman before. I mean, we've had interactions before, so I'm comfortable around him. So it was not like breaking the ice or getting into a situation where you're getting to know someone new. But it's not like we hang out every day. But he's very, very casual and chilled out. Salman is someone who's, what you see is what you get. He is what he is.
Yes.
And if he vibes with you, then he's fond of you, and that's the way our tuning is. So I had a really good time and a very easy time working with him. So that made it much easier. I think I had an easy time working with everyone on the film. May it be Maneesh, Katrina, Salman, the rest of the cast. It becomes an ordeal if sometimes you can feel, a kind of a burdened aura of someone. And I've had experiences like that. I don't want to quote who it is or in which films. But this was easy. It was like just, I wouldn't say a walk in the park because I had to actually put my heart and soul into the Atish, but my equation with the actors was so easy that made it that much easier, the working experience. So that was not a deterrent in any way. And of course, that, Salman is such a big star.
Yeah.
There's an aura, there's an expectation, and, that you have to kind of match up to that. But also you can't think about that because that might scare you, those stakes might scare you. So for you, the only place you come from is a place of truth and honesty of playing the character the best you can, right? When I step into the set, I'm not Emraan Hashmi, I'm Atish. My intention is to destroy this man, and that is what the intention is, step onto the set. So none of that all vanishes. All those notions, all those expectations, all that pressure vanishes.
I think the mind of Atish is what is truly interesting in terms of the character. When we speak of you, and you're almost a private person, you are a private person, you very rarely come out and do press for films. You look at the 2000s and you look at that entire era which you've rocked, and you've had a fan base that has been so loyal and consistent till date. It's a very rare thing for an actor to have in an industry that is every Friday banners change and names change. Now do you feel like you've sort of come a full circle with Tiger, or do you feel like this is just a part of your journey, like you said in the past, but because it's a huge banner, there's a huge superstar, the money that is being made is so huge. Atish is getting so much of focus now. How do you look at all of this post-release? Like, where does Tiger fit in your trajectory, Emraan?
So I had made a deliberate move after 2013 to 2014 of gradually moving out of a certain kind of mass cinema that I used to do because I had my run in it and I wanted to go into a little more performance experimental films. This was a deliberate move on my part, and I knew that my career would probably go through a bit of a bleeding phase because the audience didn't want to see me that way, but I had to do it to hone my craft. So that was a deliberate 6-7 years, right? And people might argue that, okay, that probably is a little detrimental, that is a little, why would he do something like that?
I wanted to actually ask
you. The stakes and things change when you have a body of work behind. It's easy when you step into the industry for the first time. You don't really have something to, match up to. Now you have played all these characters, but it starts seeming repetitive to you.
Right.
So it just starts, and then you have these things to lose. You can't give the audience the same thing again and again. So I took a departure from there. I think what Tiger brings is taking me back to the core constituency of that mass base. I think that's what it is. And I think after doing all those so-called experimental films for the past 6-7 years, I think I'm ready to take a new leap into this space, which is fresh, which is kind of old wine in a new bottle kind of scenario, and present myself back in that core constituency that I've had long back.
What's the one trick to stay relevant and to reinvent yourself? These are two very important words that an actor needs to sort of have, is reinvent constantly and stay relevant. Perhaps you don't need to do anything, because like, in today's day of social media, there are certain trends, or there are managers who tell you, oh, you need to jump on this trend, this is what is cool. But even your social space, you're very yourself. Like, you share what you want to, you say what you want to.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you can't be something you're not. And I have certain likes, dislikes, and nothing is right or wrong. People are different, have different personalities. I don't like to buy into every trend, because I probably come from another mindset and, generation.
Like the Paps, for instance.
Yeah.
We rarely see you.
I can't do that. Like and I've said this before also, like beyond my work and playing characters and promoting films, I can't have a camera stuffed in my face 24/7. I don't yearn for that validation. I don't think, and I feel I could be wrong, sometimes it's counterproductive. And I said this to someone earlier, I was like, if you're going to constantly blast yourself, your mugshot on social media, PAPs, and you're constantly bombard people's mind space through the year, and then come out of the film, where is the appeal? Right? You're there and available to them 24/7. From the time you get down to your house and your building, they're covering you, and you're out on social media, multiple websites. So what is the appeal when your film comes out? Right? People should yearn to see you. Now that could be contested by people, saying that these are changing times and you need to go out. But this is my thought process. And like I said, nothing is right or wrong.
Right. Like, you almost went underground during Tiger, and before that there was so much speculation about you are doing the film, then your look in the film, then you're buffed up for the film.
So that was a very funny one, because Aditya Chopra told me that, listen, Emraan, just go underground for this one, and we probably will have a time where we will bring it in, but just don't talk about it. And it became such an ordeal and so funny for me, because I had 2-3 releases where the press was asking me, and I think they knew, they definitely knew I was doing
it's
the
out
film.
in trade.
But I couldn't say it, right? And I was like, how am I going to constantly, try to evade the situation, the question? But I had to do it, because I couldn't say it, because then it would be in public domain. You might know it, but then the fans would know it also. So there was always, till the promo came out, some people were still, okay, is he or is he not? That's why it made such an impact in the last shot when you see Atish. It wouldn't have that impact if I would already said that I'm part of Tiger.
No, also because he's lurking in the shadows, and then he comes out, and then when he comes out, he's all in his full glory.
Yes.
I think that was the fun part. I have to ask you, what is your favorite scene in the film? Any scene perhaps which is with you or which is in general? What was your enjoyable moment in
Well,
Tiger?
I can't really give it away, because again, a lot of people haven't seen the film, but it's the prologue, it's the backstory of why he wants to avenge him. That was a scene that was initially written differently, and then it was rewritten, and I found it such a fascinating scene of that instance just fractures him as his mind, and makes him so toxic and so bitter with his life. It's like, you have something that completely shakes your foundation and have nothing to live for.
Right.
And the only thing you want is blood to avenge the people who have wronged you. And that is Atish. He doesn't start off being the bad guy.
Right.
He's someone who's got a different ideology. You can fault him for that, because other people have different political ideologies. But the reason he goes out and wants Tiger and Zoya's blood is that scene of what happens to him. So I found that a very powerful scene.
That's a terrific scene, I think.
So that's also one of the reasons I did the film.
Right.
Because if that scene hadn't been there, then there wouldn't be any justification
Right.
for why he's
Why
doing
is he
it.
doing all
Yes.
of this?
So that for me was the turning point.
Right. And just the fact that fans are having so much fun with the spyverse. I mean, we've spoken so much about Marvel. Now there is this Desi indigenous spyverse that we've made
Yeah.
with so many possibilities.
Yes.
With like a Rubai and a Zoya face-off. Fans are already creating fan fiction.
Yeah.
They're creating fan fiction with your character in
Yeah.
parallel universes.
Yeah, yeah.
If you had to say, if Atish had to walk in to a multiverse of maybe Kabir or say Rubai or say Zoya, though of course you have,
Yeah.
what would the scenario be like? Do you have anything in your head that you think Atish could perhaps ace?
Good question. I've not really thought about it, but yeah, never say never. There's always a possibility of
Yeah.
prequels,
Yeah.
or you know.
Oh, we are rooting for one.
Yeah. So I would love to be part of, in some capacity of someone else's story, like a Pathan or Kabir, or you know, it would be interesting. It would be fun.
Tell me, I mean, your name and music is still so synonymous. Your playlists perhaps are making money for channels and you know, platforms till date. There is nobody that has taken that tag from you, even in 2023. I just want to ask you, how does it feel when you perhaps step out, or you still hear Jannat music, or you still hear songs from Volam, or you still hear, what do you make of that? I think that is just fantastic. I have never seen any actor have that.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say it's like it's a gift from God. It's just, you know, like they say this, you're lucky in love.
Yeah.
Here I've been extremely lucky with the music of my films, and I've just been blessed to be worked with so many great creative minds who have made such wonderful music over the years, wonderful singers, music directors, and I met Preetam also 2 weeks ago. We were just discussing, and you know how we were just joking about when she had asked me that he constantly told Maneesh and Adi that, you know, put a romantic song of Emraan in Tiger. We're like, you know, how do you give someone like Atish a romantic song? But we go way back, and we have given multiple huge albums.
Yeah.
And it's not like just good, successful. They are like astronomical
Absolute hits, yeah.
charts off the roof. So yeah, I've just been blessed. I think I've been very blessed.
Yeah, I mean, I always feel like whether the film succeeds or not, but the producer makes money off of the music.
Yeah.
And they always say that Emraan is a lucky mascot in that sense, you know, the music will just take off.
Huge recall, that's right, yeah.
What doors has Tiger 3 opened for you? You mentioned the fact that you're enjoying this whole sort of, now you're looking at stuff that is massy, but then in a very different way. You're also looking at the younger fan base, fans who are perhaps now watching your films, fans have stayed true with you from the beginning. At what phase would you say you're in your career right now? Are you ambitious? Are you hungry? Are you somebody who still dials up and calls people if you hear of a good role and be like, listen, I heard you're writing
I don't think
this.
I've ever done that. I don't think I've ever called up a producer or a director.
Really?
No, I've never done that.
It's always landed up.
I've just been very fortunate. You know, I believe that if someone likes your work, everyone's got their own take. It's very subjective. People have got their take on, you know, if you're a good actor or you don't fit into their scheme of things. I have a very distinct style of the way I act. I don't really fit into a traditional way of the way I act. I mean, I believe there's certain, and I believe from the first film on, I always don't like to go over the top with my performances. It's real, it's natural.
Yeah.
And if you're a filmmaker who likes that, who knows that I could bring an energy and value to the project, they've seen my work.
Yeah.
And if there's a character, if there's you know, something they want me to do, they will approach me for it. So I believe good work will get you more good work.
Emraan, for anybody who's watching this, and you know, all of us have followed your trajectory, what's the one word of advice or tip you would want to give somebody who can sustain the highs and the lows, because you've seen both, and you have stayed on that sort of rattle in those high seas, and I'm guessing like everybody else also gone through tough times, dark spaces, battled that, come and given a film like Tiger 3, which is everybody sitting up and noticing. What's the one thing what has kept you grounded, and what's the one thing you would want to tell the person?
You know, it's just don't be swayed by failures. Don't get too elevated and cocky with the successes, because you know, life is never an even trajectory. It'll always have these successes and pitfalls, and you know, just keep raring to go and keep pushing. You know, failures are only people who, sometimes you're a failure when you give up, when actually the success could be right around the corner.
Yes.
And you don't know, it might be right around the corner and you might just give up and lose steam.
Yeah.
So I'm just that kind of person who constantly gets up again and again. And I think that is when you can run the marathon. And you're not just one hit wonder or a few hits in your kitty. And when you see, and I'm very actually grateful that I didn't achieve success like this from the first film. I've seen a trajectory of, you know, a certain struggle through, although my entry in the film industry was easy because I had an avenue.
You had, yes.
But I started off as a supporting actor in a film.
Right.
And slowly I gradually worked myself into main lead roles. So also the pitfalls to overnight stardom. If you've seen failures, that's short way of success, because you learn more from failures.
Yeah, absolutely. I think on that note, I read something really interesting that trends will come, TikTok will come, Instagram might come, but Emraan Hashmi will always be there in our lives, rain or shine. I think that's a fantastic way to sort of sum up your journey. You've been there consistently giving us the entertainment we want, and I'm so excited for Tiger 3, and I'm rooting for Atish to definitely have more, pop up at more places and have more storylines.
I'd love that. I love that. I hope Adi Chopra is listening.
I hope he is. Thank you, Emraan, for this lovely chat.
Thank you.